everybody's reaction to that, and it made so much sense. Tell us what you thought about, throwing women into the 3-minute round.
Like, this is my opinion about the 3-minute rounds, right? So I do not think that female fighters right now should fight 3-minute rounds. Not even maybe 10 2-minute rounds, and I don't even know about that. I have a female fighter, 19 years old, Summer Lynn. She's number 5 in the United States, ranked number 5 in the United States, and she only has 2 fights.
Right.
So that my point to that is, like, the depth of female boxing is so thin that if you start doing 3-minute rounds, 12 rounds, 12 2-minute rounds, there's going to be more knockouts.
Right.
There's going to be more suspensions because there's going to be more injuries. So what that means is there's going to be more 60-day, 30-day suspensions. There's going to be more injuries, which are going to take longer to heal, and things like that. So I think you're even going to get a lesser pool of fighters.
Right.
So ultimately, I think it's best that that we wait until the brackets are filled with 20, 30 people per weight class. And right now it's arguably 10. Yeah. Some weight classes, the 147-pound division, which you control, which you are the first lady. So Cecilia Breakhouse is saying she's not the first lady anymore, by the way. She lost all her belts. So like right now you are the king there, and there's only so the number 1 girl is you, and you are 9-2, and you have all the belts, and the number 10 ranked girl in the United States is 0-3. That's the top 10 girls, right? That's not of the world. That's just of the United States, right? So the top 10, the top 10 females in the world. I don't even know who the last 3 are, but the number 9 girl is from France, and she's 2-2. So there's no way, and that's the world ranking. There's no way in the world that you should have 3-minute rounds, and only for what I'm saying. Like, there's going to be more injuries. There's going to be less fights. Yeah. Women complain that they don't fight enough now. They're definitely not going to fight enough, and they're not going to fight enough if there's 3-minute rounds. This is not going to happen. So I think from a logical and educated, like intellectual, like response, I think from that perspective, it's foolish to go 3-minute rounds or to go 12 2-minute rounds right now. That could change in 2-3 years. And with no Olympics, some girls are turning pro and some girls are waiting for the next time the Olympics come around. Exactly. So it kind of, that didn't help. The pandemic didn't help, right?
Pushed everything back, and so anybody that was planning to go pro after the Olympics, it's still pushing them back, and everybody's kind of on hold for that right now. Right. They don't even know if the Olympics are happening this year.
Yeah, and obviously that's still in limbo. Okay, so now speaking about the pandemic, how was 2020? Explain to everybody how it all went down. 2020, March 15th, the pandemic. I think Donald Trump shuts down basically the United States.
Right.
Boom. What happens?
Well, I want to preface it a little bit. We ended 2019 very dramatically amazing. We went to the trials, the U.S. Olympic trials. Yeah. Had some teammates there competing and winning and becoming alternate positions. We had a win from Summerlin 2 that year, right?
Yeah.
Two? I had just won in October, defending both my WBC and my WBA belt. So we were on the highest peak of peaks as a team.
Yeah, I think we were 24-2, amateur and pro. I think we were as a coach, I was and manager, whatever. I was 24-2 as the team was 24-2. So all of us.
Right at the end of 2019.
Right, and we won I think 4 belts and multiple championships, and we were in Olympic trials.
Right. So at the end of all of that, maybe at the end of the year, beginning of 2020, before the pandemic, Rick is telling us we're going to have a crazy year this year, because just to come off of such an amazing year and then try to better that the next year, he was like, we might have the worst year ever. And so he's putting it in our head that things could take a downward slope because we had such a high peak. And so in my head, listening to him, and we have story time, and we all have family talks, and so we all sit down and kind of mull over details and information. And so what I got from that was, okay, I have to make sure that I'm on point every opportunity that I get, and I don't want this year to be worse than last year. I want to find a way to make it better than last year. Even if there's no doors open, we got to figure out a way.
Right. So now the fight with Cecilia Breakhouse. Let's back up for a second, right? So someone had said, hey, the fight Jessica McCaskill versus Cecilia Breakhouse, is a ridiculous fight, right? Now, what a lot of people don't know, and this is the reason why I'm creating this podcast, and this is where I'm going to start like heating up, right? So, 2 years ago, actually probably longer than that, after the Katie Taylor fight, literally right after the Katie Taylor fight, you saw Cecilia Brakehouse in Las Vegas. Yeah. Her publicist or whatever that guy is from Chicago, he hit me up, blah, 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 and I made sure that you guys met, So you met Cecilia Brakehouse face-to-face in Las Vegas as friends, blah, blah, blah. And then we were offered, probably like April or May, I think it was, we were offered an opportunity to go out, spar with Cecilia Brakehouse for a month, right?
Right.
And what happened?
Coach said, what do you think? And I was like, well, it seemed like an opportunity to me because coming up in the boxing scene, you're either going to the Olympics and that's like a whole other thing, or if you're going pro, then you're training, and if somebody wants to use you in their camp, that's kind of a compliment, and so that's a growing experience and a learning experience, and so I'm thinking this is a good thing, and so I say we go, right? And you say
no. I say no, and I think the way I look at it, I look at everything from I guess I don't know if it's an insecurity or if it's a caution perspective, but when she said, why don't you come out for 30 days, I took it as like, two things, like they're trying to feel you out to fight you, or maybe she comes down to 140 and like to fight you. So I didn't really think we would go up. I kind of thought she would come down and try to grab us, but I was like, I didn't like it. I didn't like anything about the idea. Not to mention it's kind of the kind of shadiness that went around with her publicist or whatnot, trying to contact you directly instead of me. That was weird. Kind of stuff like that. But I don't even want to talk about it because whatever. That guy's whatever. That guy's irrelevant. But anyway, so now the Cecilia sparring kind of fades out, right? I get into it with her publicist and say, you don't ever call me again, whatever. So now, fast forward, someone calls me, I don't know if I can say her name, but someone calls me and says, hey, Rick, Tom Loeffler wants my number. So Tom Loeffler hits me up and says, hey, calls me, and, he's a good dude, I guess, I have nothing bad to say about him. So he calls me up, I say, hey, Tom, whatever, and again, I'm kind of like a fan, right, because he's promoting Triple G, he has Cecilia, he's been around a million years, so, I'm kind of a fan, but, so I'm kind of like in this new trainer / manager / I'm in a big opportunity position. Let me see how this plays out. So I automatically go on defense mode. So Tom Loeffler says, hey, what do you think about a fight versus Jessica? And I said, I like the idea, Cecilia versus Jessica. He said this is going to be the last, and this is what people don't know. Like he said, it will be the last fight on HBO.
Right.
And you against Cecilia. And I said, okay, well, I can't do 147. So why don't we do 144, right? And he goes, let me talk to Cecilia, whatever. Fake pretending like he went to go over there and ask her. Regardless, Cecilia said, we'll take the fight at 144, right? So the money wasn't there. Actually, the offer was out, and I won't say a number because I respect Tom. So the first number was good, right? I mean, it was probably 3 times what you made for the Katie fight.
Right.
So I didn't respond. I'm like, let's hold off, let's wait. And I'm talking to my lawyers, trying to figure out, like, is this something I respond to? I couldn't even get a hold of my lawyers. And then 24 hours go by, or not even, 12 hours will go by. I wake up in the morning, and the offer improves by 30%, right? Mm-hmm. Actually, more than that, 40%. So now we're at a 6-figure number, and I still didn't respond. So my only position, because I feel like I'm relatively smart when it comes to contracts. So my play was, I'm like, Jess, can you give me permission? I want to call Eddie Hearn. Mm-hmm. I think we can parlay this into something bigger, right? So I reached out to Eddie Hearn. These are things that I don't think people know about. So I reached out to Eddie Hearn, talked to Eddie, and Eddie's like, well, you know what? That's a pretty good offer. What was your counter? I told him my counter was a little bit further away, mm-hmm. right? So he's like, man, if you get that kind of money to fight Cecilia, I would take it. Mm-hmm. Whatever. So all this is going on. Long story short, we passed on the deal. Eddie calls me in the morning, and he's like, hey, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I want a home for Jessica. Like, I want to park you somewhere so that you can get a 5-fight deal, whatever. So
and that's what you mean by we can turn this into something bigger. It's not necessarily like, let's get a bigger payday, for this specific fight. It's, longevity and signing and having multiple fights and creating opportunity on the back end for something better.
Right. And I think, personally, like, you got a guy who owns the corner shop in your neighborhood and he's trying to be your manager. That guy's selling loaves of bread, and he doesn't know what's going on. I trade for the biggest banks in the world, and I have access to a lot of Ivy League people, and, I just bounce ideas off of very, very, very smart people. And, and the play was like, hey, you should try to parlay that into something bigger with Matchroom. And that's exactly what turned out. Yeah. That's what happened, So we could have, listen, and correct me if I'm wrong, 90% of the female market out there today would have taken that first offer. Not even close. Like, it was so close to 6 figures on the first offer that people would have jumped on it. I know 20 girls who would have, I know 80 girls who would have taken that fight.
For sure.
So you got, and this is what I'm telling to the female fighters out there, female managers, coach, whatever, whoever, especially if you're not a business savvy person, make sure you don't take, if you say you don't want $8,000, don't bash the offer. Just don't take it, because you'll bash a $10,000 offer, and then they'll take it, and that's not helping the sport. That actually hurts the sport. So, I think the first offer that Eddie gave me against, the Katie Taylor fight, the first offer was like, I can't say it because I'm not going to disrespect Eddie, but it was so low. Like, I was like, Eddie, call me when it's like XYZ, and I was just like, come on. And you hung up. Yeah, and it was, and it improved, and everything improved since then. I mean, whatever. So now we get, so that happens. A lot of people don't know that fight, right? Not a lot of people know that fight in the HBO fight, Cecilia, at 144 was offered to us. Right. Fast forwarded to right before we agreed to terms to fight Cecilia, actually fighters, right? So now, I think we just unified 140. You have the WBC and WBA belt, right? So